Cognitive development in early childhood. So, during early childhood, young children are not only growing physically, but they are also growing mentally. As they grow, so does their thinking skills, knowledge, and learning ability. So, children of this age continue to advance their skills in observing and interacting with the world around them. They also make tremendous leaps in how they process, store, and use information. Now, can you describe what is cognitive development? So, cognitive development is a process of growth in the areas of thinking. It includes reasoning, memory, problem solving, and thinking skills. The development of skills and knowledge that help them understand their environment. So, as what I have said, young children are not only growing physically, but they are also growing mentally or cognitively. They develop in the areas of thinking, how they process information, how they determine right from wrong, how they make decisions and solve problems, and how they learn new things and perceive the world around them. So it is basically the development or growth in the child's mind or their thought process. So we have here Jean Piaget stages of cognitive development. So Jean Piaget's theory of cognitive development suggests that children move through four different stages of mental development. So we have here stage 1 sensory motor stage, pre-operational stage, concrete operational stage, and formal operational stage. So since we're talking about here the early childhood, so it falls in the stage 2, which is the pre-operational stage, ages 2 to 7 years. So we will focus on the pre-operational stage. Now, the term operational refers to the ability to manipulate information logically. So, children at this stage are considered pre operational. Yes, the child is thinking, but they can't yet use logic to transform, combine, or separate ideas. So dili pa kay sila kasabot. That's why they are pre-operational, meaning they are still beginning to understand or to use logic. So they are learning, but they are not yet able to manipulate the information that they have learned. That's why they are called pre-operational. Now, children at this stage use symbols to represent words, images, and ideas, which is why children in this stage engage in pretend play or make believe play. And also, language development is one of the hallmarks of this period. So, this stage, mag-start na ang pagtabi sang puyang, their language development. Now, the pre-operational stage is divided into two substages. The stage, the substage one is the symbolic substage, and the second one is the intuitive substage. So first, the symbolic substage. It occurs between 2 and 4 years of age and is characterized by the child being able to mentally represent an object that is not present and a dependence on perception in problem solving. So they are highly dependent on symbols. Like for example, mag-use sila sang objects or things nga nagrepresent sang lain such as ang broom para sa ila is horse or ang chair para sa ila is car or truck. So they are very imaginative and they highly rely on objects. Now, preschool children show progress in their cognitive abilities by being able to draw objects that are not present, by their dramatic increase in their language and make believe play. So, since they are very imaginative, no, they are highly rely on objects para mag-represent sa ela imagination. Among hilig kay ni sila role playing or inang make believe play or pretend play. Like mag-act sila nga sila ang mommy or daddy or sila ba ang monster or ang police. So, mag-pretend sila nga amo na ila role. And also, mga actions, like mag-pretend sila na nag-drive sila sang car, sunod inang may mga gamit sila nga nag-represent sang lain. So, they are more on pretending, like role-playing and other kinds of imaginative play. Next, we have the intuitive substage, lasting from 4 to 7 years, marked by greater dependence on intuitive thinking rather than just perception. So in here, mag-start na ang ila thinking process. So in this substage, ang puya kay hilig kayo magsipangutana. No? So they use primitive reasoning and ask a litany of questions. The development in their language ability facilitates their endless asking of questions. So kahilig kay nila mangutana, like mangutana sila sa imo, for example, about sa sky. Mangutana din na sila na nanami na ang sky. Naman ara man sang sky. Sino man naghimo sang sky? Naman iya minagihimo or giano man sina paghimo. So they usually ask questions why and how. So they attempt to understand the world or things around them by asking questions. So they are very curious about their about the things around them. Now we have the limitations of pre-operational thought. So Piaget labeled certain things that he noticed in children and how it was really not something they were doing in purpose, but something that was just a limit of their ability cognitively. So first we have animism. It is a belief that inanimate objects are capable of actions and have lifelike qualities or capable of actions just like humans. So tagaan nila'y kinabuhi ang mga things or objects. Tagaan nila'y kinabuhi like ganila'y qualities na only human lang ang makahimo or buhat. And they fail to distinguish the appropriate occasions for using human and non-human perspectives. So they believe na ang objects is capable of actions. Example, a child believing that the sidewalk was mad and made them fall down, or that the stars twinkle in the sky because they are happy, or the tree pushed the leaf off and it fell down. So another example, the child look at the sunset and say, "Oh, the sun's going to bed." Or when raining, the child might say, "The clouds are crying." So diba, they believe that objects is capable of actions and having a lifelike qualities, like qualities na only human lang ang makabuhat. Next, we have artificialism. It is the belief that certain aspects of the environment are manufactured by people. So they believe nga ang mga environmental aspects such as clouds, wind, sky, or other things, they believe nga gibuhat or gi-create ina sang tao. Example: a child might say that it is windy outside because someone is blowing very hard, or the clouds are white because someone painted them that color. So, di ba, ang mga environmental aspects kay ila gituhuan nga gihimo lang sang tao. Next, we have egocentrism. It is the inability to distinguish between one's own perspective and someone else's perspective. The egocentric child assumes that other people see, things, hear, and feel exactly the same as they do. So in here, the child can see a situation from another person's point of view. So they can be able to take the perspective of the other. That's why they assume nga ang tanan tao sa iya palibot is pareha sa iya. If nano iya makit-an, ah, if nano iya mabatian or nano iya ma-feel, so the children think nga amulat ang ma-feel or makit-an sang iban nga tao. So we have here an example. A 10-year-old Kiko's birthday is coming up, so his mom takes his 3-year-old sister Kenny to the toy store to choose a present to his brother. She chose a Barbie doll for him, thinking that if she likes the toy, her brother will too. So, she is egocentric. So, she thinks nga kung ganahan siya Barbie, she thinks nga ganahan latang iya kuya. Another example: child silently nods on the telephone as to answer his father, who is on the other side of phone, inquiring if mom is around. So, since nakitaan man niya iya mama, suning tando lang siya. Without thinking dili kay na to wag na to nakitaan sang iya papa. Okay? Next, we have decentration, one of the limitations of preschool child's operational thought. It focusing or centering of one's attention on one characteristic to the exclusion of others. So the pre-operational children also have difficulty understanding that an object can be classified in more than one way. Okay, so here's an example to better understand. So, a 4-year-old child who was asked to put the blocks into groups might focus his or her attention on the color of the blocks instead of the shape or the material from which they are constructed. So, nag-center ang attention sa puya sa color sa blocks. Okay? Another one is, okay, so a 4-year-old girl was shown a picture of 8 dogs and 3 cats. And then gipangutana na are there more dogs or more animals? So the girl here is aware that cats and dogs are both animals, but ang iya answer is more dogs. So nag-center ang iya attention sa kadamuon or kung nano sa duwa ang damo. So gi-exclude niya ang cats and dogs that are both animals. So gi-exclude niya the fact that those animals, those cats and dogs are both animals. Okay? So centration is also an evidence of preschool children's lack of conservation. So this is also related to lack of conservation. So lack of conservation is the awareness. Conservation is the awareness that altering a substance appearance does not change its basic properties. So pre-operational children have an inability to conserve. So they are not aware that altering a substance appearance does not change its basic properties. Example: Dad gave a slice of pizza to a 10-year-old Kiko and another slice to a 3-year-old Kenny. Kenny's pizza slice was cut onto 5 pieces. So Kenny told her brother that she got more pizza than he did. Okay, so uh, this is also related to centration, in which the child focus on only one characteristic. So in here, ang puya, si Kenny is nag-focus ang iya attention sa kadamuon. And she is not aware nga gikibit-kibit ladto that the same size ladtong iya sa kang Kiko. Okay? She is not aware that altering substance appearance does not change uh, or its physical characteristic will remain the same even if you change the way something looks, like its size, quantity, or number. So she's not aware of that, and she has a lack of conservation. Next, we have the irreversibility. This is the inability to reverse the direction of a sequence of events to their starting point. Piaget's term for a pre-operational child's failure to understand that an operation can go in two or more directions. So, dili sila kantigo pag-reverse sa mga steps or sequence of events. So here's the example. A child does not realize that the juice in each glass can be poured back into the juice box from which it came. Okay, so the child does not realize nga pwede gan mabalik ang juice sa juice box. Another example is the numbers, like pa-count nimo sila sang 1 up to 10. So if kuno na nimo sila nga i-reverse from 10 down to 1, so dili na sila kantigo. Next, we have transductive reasoning. It refers when a child reasons from specific to specific, drawing relationship between two separate events that are otherwise unrelated. So, ang ila reasoning is dili related. Like kung pangutan-on nimo sila, lain ang ila itubag. So, walay connections. Like, oh, yes, walay connections ang ila reasoning. Okay, example. Mike did not like to share a piece of cake with his younger sister. Mike's younger sister was sick, and Mike concludes that he made his younger sister get sick. So, di ba ang iya reasoning is dili related sa pagkasakit sang iya manghud. Okay? Another one, a child hears a dog bark and then a balloon pop. The child would conclude that because the dog barked, the balloon popped. So still, there's no connection between the two. Now, what are the limitations of pre-operational thought? So we have animism, artificialism, egocentrism, centration, lack of conservation, reversibility, and transductive reasoning. Now we have the brain connections in the preschool years. Okay, so our brain is composed of numerous cells called neurons that connect to each other to functions. This is our cells in our brain. The cell connections are what we call synapses, sometimes also referred to as synaptic connections. Now, those neurons, cells, have a connection that we call synapses. Now, did you know that human brain contains some 50 billion neurons at birth? By age 2, children have developed half of the brain cell connections that will be made during one's lifetime. So they have twice as many synapses as adults because these connections is for their learning. Parang ila brain is maka-learn faster than any other time of life. So since they are still a child, need gay nila sang damo nga connections. Okay, that's why they have 50 billion neurons at birth. Kay need gay ini nila for them to master or learn in order for them to become a successful adults. Since child pa man sila, damo gayud ang kinahanglan nila i-master or dapat nila makantigo pagbuhat. And did you know that around 6 years of age, the brain develops for more sophisticated thinking patterns? So as they grow old, so magka-change lahat ang ila or magka-develop at ang ila and how they think. Now, yeah, brain research has also pointed out the crucial role of the environment. Yes, very important kid ang rule sa environment, especially sa child. Kay maka-influence ang environment sa growth and how the child grow as a person. Experts have shown specific areas of brain activity that respond to environmental stimulation. Therefore, the brain forms specific connections or synapses that are different for each person. So, since every child has a different environment, so their brain has also different synaptic connections in response to their environment. So, if the environment is stressful or toxic, maka-affect guide ina siya sa cognitive development sa usa ka puya. That's why ang iban may mga trauma or anxiety because of their stressful environment. Now we have language development. Okay, throughout the preschool years, children's language becomes increasingly complex in the four main areas. So we have here the phonology or speech sounds ang form nila sang sounds, the semantics or word meaning, and syntax, sentence construction. So usually biro sila sa mga grammar, and pragmatics, conversation or social use of language. Okay, fast mapping is a process by which children absorb the meaning of a new word after hearing it once or twice in conversation. So preschool combines syllables into sentence in an increasing sophisticated manner. So, damo inang masuno sampuya nga iba na words. Like for example, inang sana all. Diba? So, ang child, yan ina masuno gamit sa sentence. So, when it comes to this, adults should be careful on what they are about to say, especially ang pamalikas or casing. Kay masuno gid ina nila once mabatian ina nila. It's because they don't know the meaning of that word or phrase. So, since early childhood or preschoolers are very magdepend sila ang ila learning sa imitation. Like ma-learn sila through imitations. That's why dili kita mag-akita as a role model for them. Kay imitate mi na nila sa kung nanong im gibuhat as an adult is ilalat ina sunon. So, foots for feet, childs for children. So, we tend to hear this from children, preschooler children, especially kung tudloan naton sila sang singular and plural nouns and as well as verbs. So they apply rules inappropriately, causing them to make mistakes in grammar. Since di pa man sila kay kantigo, so they usually make mistakes. So a 3-year-old kid laughing with delight as an abrupt summer breeze stirred her hair and tickled his skin, commented, "It did wounding me." Okay? So they are not yet mastered in grammar. And also this, a child said, "My father hatches the wood," meaning his father chops the wood with a hatchet. So they are still, so since they are still learning, so magka, uh, of course, they can make mistakes. Next, we have language and social interaction. So Vygotsky believed that young children use language both to communicate socially and to plan, guide, and monitor their behavior in a self-regulatory fashion called inner speech or private speech. So according to Vygotsky, children talk to themselves in order to solve problems or clarify their thoughts. So he called it private speech or inner speech. So the child thinking out loud. Think out loud. Meaning kung nano ang iyaging hunahuna is iya isulti. Such as kung may dumduman siya or something, amo nang ang mga puya kay hilig sila magtabi-tabi sang ila kay because they are thinking out loud. So kung nano ila gihuna-huna is ila isulti. Okay? Now for Piaget, private speech is egocentric and immature. But for Vygotsky, it is an important tool of thought during early childhood. Full cognitive development requires social interaction and language. Now we have the zone of proximal development or ZPD. It refers to tasks that are too difficult for a child to master alone but can be mastered with the guidance and assistance of adults or more skilled children. So, as what it says, may mga tasks or activity ang nga mabuhat sang puya and may ara pud mabuhat nila with guidance or assistance. And it has a lower limit and upper limit. So the lower limit is the level of cognitive development reached by the preschool child independently. So mabuhat niya independently without guidance or assistance. And the upper limit is the level of additional responsibility the child can accept with assistance of an able instructor. So diri na ang mabuhat niya with guidance or assistance. So here's the illustration about the zone of proximal development. So the task that the learner can do with assistance and the task that learner can do without assistance. Okay, so there is also tasks that the learner cannot do even with assistance. Now we have the scaffolding. It is a term that refers to the changing support over the course of a teaching session, with a skilled person adjusting guidance to fit the child's current performance level. So this is when a child is provided with assistance or guidance. This is closely linked to the idea of CPD or zone of proximal development. Now, scaffolding involves like breaking down the things in order for the child to master it easily. So you are providing assistance for the child to carry out a task that is beyond their current abilities. But right amount of assistance lang ang i-provide. And then the rest kay ang child na ang mubuhat. Like muhatag kalay hint or step by step ba nimo or mag-provide kay suggestion or technique. So you are guiding the child and then the child will do the rest. So the more skilled person is also called more knowledgeable other. So it is the one who will guide or assist the child. They are called the MKO. Now we have the information processing theory, attention, and memory. So in short, term memory or STM retain information for up to 15 to 30 seconds lang. And assuming there is no rehearsal, which can help keep information in STM for a much longer period. Okay, so only 15 to 30 seconds. Between the ages of 2 and 5, long-term memory also begins to form, which is why most people cannot remember anything in their childhood prior to 2 or 3. So between 2 and 5 age, palang na ma-form ang long-term memory. That's why we can't remember kung nano aton gibuhat pagkapuya. Mostly ang madumduman sa puya is from 6 or 7. But ang iba na madumduman is very vague na or unclear. Meaning dili kompletong iba na details or dili kay madumduman ang iban. Okay? So between the ages of 5 and 7, children learn how to focus and use their cognitive abilities for specific purposes. So as the child grow older, mas madumduman na niya and makaprocess ang information like memorizing words or facts. So this skill is really needed kung mag-eskwela na ang puya. Because in school, they can gain new information and as well as retain it through exam or test. Okay, so ma-enhance ng ila memorizing skills or their thought process. Okay, in early childhood, as information processing increases, inspired memory becomes increasingly longer. Okay, so as the child grow old, okay, mas madumduman na niya ang mga information and also the memories. Now we have the young children's theory of mind. So theory of mind refers to individuals' thoughts about how mental processes work or a set of ideas about mental activities. This develops markedly between the ages of 3 and 5. So it is the understanding that the mind holds people's beliefs, dislikes, desires and emotions and intentions. Okay, so it includes awareness of one's own thought processes, social cognition, understanding that people can hold false beliefs, ability to deceive, ability to distinguish appearance and reality, and ability to distinguish fantasy from reality. So children does not understand very much about how their mind works. So they just learn by imitating others, and they will slowly starting to understand that people do not always agree on things they like. Makadistinguish na siya that other people doesn't have the same perspective as him or her. So as they grow old, they begin to understand how their mind works. Makaibaw na sila nga ang girls have different preferences than boys. Lain-lain ang likes and activities. And also, they can now hide their true feelings. So magkadako sila, dili na dayon sila naton dali mailad. Like dili na dan sila kaya mutuo sa aton because they begin to understand sang lies and sarcasm, but also figurative language. So, how do children manage to develop a theory of mind at such a young age? So, various speculations and research findings suggest that social experience is very important. So, that social experience includes early forms of communication, imitation, make believe play or pretend play, language, social interaction. And next, the role of parents and teachers in the cognitive development of preschoolers. So, learning about how preschoolers think and learn, one will realize that parents and teachers can do a lot either to help preschoolers develop their cognitive skills or impede them. So yes, dako ang rules ang parents as well as ang teachers in the development of preschoolers, especially their cognitive skills. However, they could also impede them, meaning they could harm or slow down the development of children, especially to teaching. Like i-force nimo ang puya na maka-learn dayon or inang sigiyon nimo siya pastadihon. Nya dili nimo tagaan sang time to play or maka-interact sa other people. So this could cause stress to children and can have a negative effect on their learning. That's why we, as a future teacher or educator, we should provide a quality environment for children that will help them develop and become as successful adults. That's the end of my presentation. I hope you learned something. Thank you.